And I would like to welcome you this evening to the all of you to the voters and the Cottonwood Chamber of Commerce. I do live in the Verde Valley. If you accept the fact that Sedona is part of the Verde Valley, that's a contentious statement though. I have lived here for about 10 years, just over 10 years now. I moved here from Denver, Colorado. I worked for many years with Quest Communications, and while at the same time I brought up two wonderful children, Danielle and Michael. They still live in Denver. I also have now 4 grandchildren, all sons, so all grandsons, all boys. However, you realize I'm probably from, you listen to my speech, I'm not a native, although I do have citizenship, and I can vote. I was actually born in Leeds, England, and I spent the first part of my life in England. In London, where I went to university, I became involved in politics, and I worked full-time for the British Labour Party. It was a very interesting and demanding position. A few years later, I married my husband, who worked with the United Nations, and we were stationed. He was stationed at that time in London, but he was promoted, and before I knew it, we were on our way to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, where we lived for 5 years. In the early 1980s, his job took us to the United States, and that's where we moved. I became a United States citizen, very proud one, in 1999. And I voted to every single election. Proud of it. I've also been a candidate myself, so I do appreciate the importance of public office and the importance of educating ourselves about the issues and the candidates. That is why the role of the League of Women Voters in encouraging and promoting voter registration is so crucial. I actually ran for state and city office, and I recently served on the Sedona City Council. So I do know how important these forums are, and I thank the League of Women Voters for putting this on this evening. So again, I'm thrilled here to be your moderator tonight. Let me explain that the purpose of this forum is to educate ourselves about the Cottonwood City Council and mayoral elections and the candidates running for these elections. I have always been told that politics is all about local and begins there. And that is the case. I truthfully believe in it, and I think you all do too. That's why you're here. Our city councillors and mayor are the ones who touch us the most. And although state and national politics seem to get all the headlines, as we're getting now, it is what happens in our cities which impacts our lives, perhaps more than than do the politicians in Washington, D.C. So, without much more ado, I'm going to introduce our candidates. And I'm going to introduce them in order of speaking. So I'll just introduce you first. So first of all, we have number 1 is going to be Tosca Henry. Tosca Henry, right?
Yes.
Tosca. And I'll let you introduce yourself. And I'll just go down the road to begin with real quick. Ruben Haraki.
Very good.
Al Hilberger, Jackie Nairn, and Deb Althaus. Those are our 5 candidates here. And what we're going to do is we have an opening statement, which you're going to take 2 minutes to give your opening statement. So first of all, we're going to start, wait a minute, where are we going to start now? Let's start to begin with, wait a minute, let me get my pen here. I should have had one ready, sorry. Okay. So we're going to start with Tosca. Tosca Henry, who's going to give her 2-minute opening statement. Tosca.
Great, thanks, Angela. My name is Tosca Henry, and I'm running for Cottonwood City Council for one simple reason, and that is to continue to serve this community in a leadership role. I am a strong and experienced leader, and I have served for years in different leadership roles. I currently serve on the governing board of the Cottonwood Chamber of Commerce, And this leadership experience has helped me to learn about small businesses and their needs and the challenges that they face in today's environment here in Cottonwood. I'm the former chairperson of the City of Cottonwood Board of Adjustment, and this experience was helpful to educate me as to our zoning rules and how they affect our private citizens' private property rights. In addition to being a strong and experienced leader, I'm committed to Cottonwood and its citizens. I live and work in this community, and I would like to see it continue to thrive through strong and well-thought short-term and long-term planning. I advocate for economic growth in a sustainable manner, working to attract and encourage diverse businesses to our area. Lastly, I am a fair and objective leader. I'm here to serve this community to the best of my ability. I don't have a personal agenda. In my personal life, I am a managing attorney of a firm, and I also spend a lot of time volunteering in our community. I'd like to encourage dialogue and strongly and vigorously advocate and further the interests of this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Tosca. Thank you very much. Okay, Ruben.
Thank you. First of all, thank you to the League of Women Voters and to the Chamber for sponsoring this evening. When my wife and I decided to relocate 38 years ago, we chose Cottonwood as a place we wanted to land at. And through the years, we have raised our children here. We had a business here for many years that has supported us. And my reason for running is to give back to this community. Cottonwood has been good to us, my wife and I, and serving the council is a way of giving back to our community. As far as a little more of the background, after high school, I got married. I was in the military, served in Vietnam, came back home, and went to work in the same industry for 45 years. And I believe that my military service, my years in business, will serve me well. Those life experiences have been my education. And I've served for about 16 years at this point. 10 of those 16 as mayor. It was a great run. And I'm looking forward to serving again if you see fit. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Al.
Thank you. First, I want to thank the League of Women Voters also. It's really rewarding to see that people are interested enough in the positions to vote their conscience and do their due diligence. I'm Al Hilberger. I'm running as Albert C. Hilberger because my son is Albert L. Hilberger, and if he got elected, I think he would bolt. So my wife Sherry and I have been married 51 years, have resided in Arizona in the Verde Valley for 16 of those years. Together we started a construction company from scratch, worked really hard at that business, and then after that we took over a lube shop business, built it up from 8 cars a day to 60 cars a day, just through hard work and dedication. And my wife, well, without my wife, I couldn't have done it. She's been right by my side all through my life as well as our businesses, so it's been really important to me. I have, because of all the businesses and management experience I've done over the years, I have 50 years of management and business experience that I would like to apply for the council. I'm a common sense, no nonsense person that believes in honesty, fairness, and integrity. Public servants are to serve the public. That's the bottom line. I don't want to be called a politician. I'm a person that cares about this city and cares about the residents of this city. And the residents are number one, and certainly voting correctly with the city is very important to me too. Served as commissioner for the Parks and Recreation here for 3 years and have volunteered at Verde Valley Medical Center. So I'm proud to be a candidate for council, and I thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you, Al. Go on to Jackie. Jackie Nairn.
Hi, good evening. I'm Jackie Nairn, and again, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting this on. I haven't lived here in Cottonwood as long as the other candidates have. I came here last year in February from Indiana. Did not get involved in politics before now, and the reason I'm getting involved now is because I feel called to do this and to serve this community. Since I moved here, since the first day I got here, Cottonwood has felt like my home in a way that Indiana never did. I deeply care about this community and the people that live here. And I feel that I can do a very good job of helping the city to be better. It's a great city, but it can be better. And it's going to take a whole council of people and a whole community of people communicating to the council members to make that happen. Local government can and should be an effective and efficient body of government that serves the best interests of all the people involved. That would be all the residents that live here, those people that live outside our city limits, those people that come into our city to work and to visit. And to that end, once I'm elected, I will work to improve the quality of life of everybody who comes into the city, to engage the public in the process of city government, to increase the transparency of the city with the public about everything that they're doing, to be the voice of the people and be connected with everybody, and to ensure fiscal responsibility while building a sustainable economy to move forward. My skills, I don't have, like I said, government experience, but I do have over 20 years of management and supervisory experience in different agencies and in a couple different fields. I'm a great listener. I love to do research. I have good organizational and communication skills. I'm very creative in finding solutions and in filling gaps in services. I'm direct, honest, with a high degree of integrity, and I have a strong desire to help everybody in this community to live a better life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, we have Deb Althouse.
Thank you. I always end up last. My name is Deb Althouse, and I'm very excited about this opportunity to serve on the Cottonwood City Council. My husband and I moved to actually Phoenix, Arizona in 2007 from Southern California. We came up here to Cottonwood for actually a motorcycle rally, the Smokeout, that used to be held at the fairgrounds, and we absolutely fell in love with Cottonwood and the community and the people and just the generosity of everybody. We decided to buy a home. We bought a home up here in 2008, and we've considered this our home ever since then. I decided to run for city council because I felt it was a time to bring in new ideas and perspectives to the council. I have a bachelor's degree in sociology and a master's degree in public administration from the California State University of San Bernardino. I'm a strong supporter of our military, past, present, and future, and my stepson is currently serving in the U.S. Army. He's back home after doing 2 tours in Iraq. As a council member, I will be available and responsive to the residents of Cottonwood. I'm a community advocate, volunteer at the VFW Post 7400, American Legion Post 25, and the Motorcycle Association of Arizona, which holds several events each year to support local charities, including the Verde Valley Military Service Park, the Verde Valley Humane Society, I can't think of the other ones, and many others. I was here supporting Sergeant Maynard when we built the homes for our troops for his adaptive home, and welcome him into the community. I'm gonna have to skip a bunch. I support motorcycle rides and the community events such as Thunder Valley Rally, Tilted Earth, and Walking on Main to help bring visitors into Cottonwood in the hopes that they will come back again and visit our wineries, our new breweries that are popping up, and Old Town Cottonwood shops and recreation. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. We're going to spend some time answering questions now. And we have some questions already. Okay, yes. Thank you. So we have a prepared question, which I'm going to ask. And we'll start off by just going down the line. So Tosca with you, one through to the end here. And the first question is, the biggest challenge facing Arizona and our district, and how would you go about dealing with the challenge? If you want to give me an example of what you think that is and how you deal with it. Thank you.
Will you repeat the question, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. What is the biggest challenge facing Arizona and our district and facing Cottonwood? Sorry. Let's get that local. Cottonwood. What is the biggest challenge facing Cottonwood at the present time, and how would you go about dealing with this challenge? Thank you.
I believe that the role of the City Council is to serve our community, and in so doing, we have to encourage dialogue. I've spent a lot of time speaking with fellow community members in order to find out the answer to that question. What do our constituents, my constituents, believe to be the biggest issue facing Cottonwood? And the number one answer, overwhelmingly, that I received was our budget and our economy. And how are we poised for future generations in an economic manner? So my focus as part of this campaign is to encourage economic growth and development and ensure that we have a local economy here that is sustainable into the long-term future. Just recently, I was writing a letter of recommendation for a graduate of Mingus Union High School who was going to college down in Tucson. And as I was writing the letter of recommendation, I said, I hope this candidate is able to obtain, or the student is able to obtain education and skills and then return to the Verde Valley to share that training and knowledge with our community. But in order for that to be a realistic hope, we have to make sure that our local community has a thriving economy that will bring back our students back to this city and help it thrive for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Next one, Ruben, the biggest challenge?
The biggest issue when I talk to people out in the street or in my salon and such is that concern about our budget and the amount of debt that we're under. And I must admit, I get a little nervous when I think about the money that we owe. So I feel that, and I understand that there's a certain amount of debt we're always going to carry. I think that's the way things function. I think we have to be awfully careful in the future as to the projects that we choose to pursue. And I'm hoping that one of the things that I'm concerned about, put it this way, because of the spending and the debt, is that now we're going to start looking at a city property tax. There are some people who have, mentioned the fact that maybe we should go into a city property tax. I'm opposed to that. I think that it would be, shall we say, detrimental to some of our community members. And I think when we think about these things, we have to think of not only can we afford it, can we handle it, but the people that possibly can and the impacts on their lives. So we're looking at the entire community here. And as we know, the property tax is not going to stay, as I've been told, the little property tax. Eventually, it's going to get bigger, and it's not going to go away. So I do have concerns about that. I've talked in the past about my concern about a property tax. I think it's going to keep coming up. I wouldn't like to see it. I feel that we're impacted by a huge community out in Verde Village that impacts us, and yet we're expecting the citizens of Cottonwood to carry all the burden. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruben. Okay, we go on to Al.
Thank you. I feel much the same as Ruben. I'm very concerned about the budget and the debt as well. One of the reasons for our success, and again, my wife and I, we paid down our debt. And it's amazing. All cities have debt, and they probably always will have a certain amount of debt. But we have to be able to look at the overall budget, try to reduce expenses where we can reduce them, not have some of the functions cost us a lot of money that we might put on for different groups. So I firmly believe in that. And I'm also concerned about keeping our children that graduate from high school here. Many of the kids are going to fly the coop no matter what, but if we have incentive for them to come back, it'd be a wonderful thing. Maybe some high-tech businesses, we can encourage some growth that way to keep our kids in Cottonwood or to come back to Cottonwood. I think that's really important. I've talked to a number of people as well, and their biggest concern was the budget and the current debt, both. So I would work, Rudy Rodriguez has done a wonderful job for the city. I would like to sit down with him, and there was a 300-page budget this year, which I don't have a copy of at this point, but I would want to sit down, review that budget, and see what we can do to reduce our debt without jeopardizing the needs of the community. The other concern I have is what happens if the economy goes south. We have enough debt if we can't get the tax income that we get from gas tax and other areas, we're going to become in a serious situation. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is Jackie Nairn. Thank you.
Thank you. I would agree with everybody else that's spoken so far at this table that the biggest issue facing Cottonwood is going to be the budget and the economy in the future. And my approach to the budget would be to look at both sides of the budget. In a budget, you have revenue and you have expenses. So yes, we need to look at where we can cut some expenses and maybe not spend so much money on something so that we can properly pay for other things so that city services aren't compromised. But we also need to look at diversifying our revenue stream, I think. Most of our revenue is coming from the sales tax, I understand, and I think that we could do better by having other sources of income coming in. I think that to grow the economy is going to mean bringing in new business, new industry that pay higher wages than most retail does, although the retail is definitely how we're getting our revenue now, so it's still very important to maintain the local businesses and have that sales tax coming in. But I would like to see us attract a new type of business that will come in and pay living wages so that we can help raise some of those people living in poverty. And that's more than half of the residents of Cottonwood are living in poverty. So we can help raise them up out of that and increase our revenue that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Deb.
And this is why I hate going last, because they've stolen everything. And the few things I had left, Jackie just took. So, I agree. Our budget is definitely a concern. Several of us sat in the city council meeting last night, and it was talked about for probably 30 or 45 minutes, what we need to do. But I agree with Jackie. We need to look at not only how can we cut the budget and save money where we can, and I think the council did an excellent job last night in deciding to refinance that debt, not making it any longer of a term, but bringing down that interest rate. But we need to look at revenue. What types of businesses can we bring in here? For these IT tech, these technical, we need to bring in jobs that can sustain the economy in this area. I also think the airport can be an economic driver for our community. We have it. It was given to us by, I believe, the Navy. I might be wrong. But we should be using it as an economic driver to our community. Have people fly in to go to Sedona or other places. I think it's a valuable resource. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that was our opening statements now. Sorry? Oh, okay, I thought somebody was... Okay, so we've had members of the audience have been writing questions, and we have the cards here. So I'm going to start with the questions, okay? We're first of all going to start the way we did right now, just from Tosca through to Deb, and then we'll mix it up a bit. And the first question is, what do you see the Chamber of Commerce's role in the community?
As a current governing board member of the Chamber of Commerce, I advocate for a very active chamber. It helps to grow. We all just heard, I think, a pretty unanimous concern for our budget, but also growing economic resources in our area, including promoting new businesses, encouraging businesses to come to this area, but also encouraging those businesses that we have. And I think it's very important for the city and the chamber to work collaboratively, because there are ways that they can both work together and bring different strengths to the table. So I am a firm believer in a strong chamber and city partnership.
And what do you see? And what do you see that relationship being if you are elected? Did you want to add? That's okay. I wanted to make sure I asked you that. Okay.
I see
yeah.
that relationship being a strong partnership with open lines of communication. That means including the chamber at discussions with the city and other stakeholders in economic discussions and attracting business decisions, as well as tourism. Here, as we all know, Cottonwood is lucky to be a destination city, and the Chamber of Commerce is able to market tourists and others to come to our area, which benefits our sales tax and benefits our local businesses here as well.
Thank you. Yes, we'll go on to Ruben.
You know, just as a side note, I was in Phoenix this weekend, and at the motel, I had the TV on, and I don't even know what channel it was. You know, you just kind of lay there dazed. But there was actually a commercial that came out promoting Cottonwood that I saw, and I got a little excited. And you know, my wife didn't want to be bothered, but I nudged her and I said, hey, look at that. You know, this Cottonwood. You know, that's the Verde Valley. So I think that we're doing some things now to promote our area. I'm always amazed as to how many people know where Cottonwood is. In the past, it used to be that we were kind of between Sedona and Jerome, and they knew those places. But now people are recognizing Cottonwood for what it is, you know. And I'm sure this issue with the wineries and such hasn't hurt. It's kind of opened up some doors there. But the issue, too, is the city and the chamber working together. And we give funds to them to promote our community. We give them the bed tax to work with and such. So there has been some working together. I'm sure there's a lot more we could do, I'm sure. I wouldn't mind seeing the chamber and the council sitting down to some serious discussions as to how we can help each other out. To my knowledge, that hasn't been done. At least in the days that I've been involved. But I think working together, I think we're all very proud of our community, and we can make it even better by, shall we say, joining hands and sharing notes, shall we say. You just can't beat Cottonwood. Working together, we can make it better.
Thank you. Al?
Chamber of Commerce is a wonderful marketing tool for all of us. I can't say enough about them. I'm a communicator, I always have been with businesses and everybody I've ever worked with, and I would also sit down and be more than happy to communicate. They might be able to assist us in many different areas. You know, if you go to the city's website, there's some really neat things from Channel 3. They've done some things, and there's the city information on there. So all of these are great tools for the city and for all of us. So I would be more than happy to work with them, and would intend to work with everyone else involved, not just the Chamber of Commerce, but everyone else involved with the city and concerned about the city. Thank you.
Jackie?
I see our Chamber of Commerce kind of like our PR department. They're out there promoting the city of Cottonwood and marketing us and trying to attract a diverse population of tourists to the area, and hopefully will be instrumental in helping us attract those businesses that we so desperately need to have a more sustainable economy. So I envision a very, very strong partnership between the city and the Chamber of Commerce to those ends. Thank you.
Thank you. Deb?
I agree with what everybody said. I think, bringing in those businesses and working in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce, I agree the City Council should be sitting down and meeting with them probably monthly, if not at least quarterly. We should be having meetings and building that relationship to bring in the tourism, to bring in the businesses. I think Ruben brought up, the TV, and I remember when Channel 3 came here for Friday field trip. Several of us were down in Old Town Cottonwood very early in the morning, some of us on our motorcycles, others, walking. But it was exciting to see that Channel 3 TV would come to Cottonwood and feature us and feature our wines and feature Dead Horse Ranch, and it was so exciting to be able to be a part of that. And to be down there. And I had to go to work down in Phoenix a couple days later, and people said, hey, now we understand where you live. That we get where Cottonwood is, and we want to come up and see it. And I thought that was really neat. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're now going to, our next question is, and we're going to start with Ruben. What can be done to improve revenue versus expenses of the city? Ruben?
Yes. That was my thinking face.
Oh, okay.
Would you give me that question again? I just spaced it out here for a second.
What can be done to improve revenue versus expenses of the city?
That's a very good question. I'm not sure what the answer would be at this point, what exactly can be done. I know that we work on a budget that is streamlined as it is now. I would hope that we look at projects that are maybe not frivolous per se, but that are absolutely necessary to put our money into. I think we're rather limited. We don't have a lot of industry here. If we're looking to attract that, it doesn't happen overnight either. They're not, many companies are looking for a place to relocate, but sometimes they're looking for from tax breaks to special incentives, and I'm not even sure that's legal anymore. I know that a few years ago there was some issues about that. But I don't have a very clear answer to that question right now, to be honest with you. I think it's going to take all of us putting our heads together and coming up with some answers, in all honesty.
Okay, thank you, Ruben. Al, what can be done to improve revenues as opposed to expenses?
Well, one of the things that we're faced with right now, for years or for a number of periods of time, we had impact fees. Impact fees are charged to developers so that per house, typically $5,800, because it does impact our water, it does impact our sewer. But there's been some recent legal issues that have made us not have those impact fees at this point. I know that the mayor and the city council and the city manager are currently working on that. We need to get those impact fees back, because that's quite a bit of money if you look at the current developments, forgetting the new developments. But the contractors wouldn't like me saying this, but the impact fees are an important part of new income for us that we haven't had for a period of time. And we had it for a long time. I know that City of Clarkdale still has impact fees, I think $5,800 per home. As far as that would certainly impact the revenue, no pun intended, but as far as expenses, I'd have to look at the budget again. There's got to be areas we can cut back some. We're faced right now without the impact fees. We don't have a lot of income. We have to rely on other sources of income, and it's limited at this point. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Jackie?
Okay. I'm afraid I don't have a very clear answer to this one either, but back to what I was saying on the revenue side of the budget. Bringing in those new businesses that bring in higher wages that will therefore translate into people spending more money here, so we have more sales tax coming in is one way to do it. We can talk about implementing a property tax, but I don't like that option very much. I don't like the idea of raising taxes in a community that's mostly living below the poverty level, so I'd like to find another way to do that. And maybe there's some way we can use public-private partnerships, but we certainly need to get the community involved in coming up with a solution to this problem. So engaging the public in these conversations and inviting everybody that lives here to the table, that works here to the table, to talk about how we can increase our revenues, I think is the way to begin.
Thank you. And Deb?
Sure. Same thing. I haven't seen our budget, 300 pages budget. I haven't seen it. So, have to get on the council and really be able to look at that. I think there are ways that we can bring in revenue. I spoke earlier. I think our events that we have in town bring in revenue. Our hotels and our motels are full. People are eating, they're drinking, they're spending money, they're buying gas, they're buying food. But most importantly, they're coming back because they're seeing what a great town this is. The vineyards I know people that come up here for take a Thursday, Friday off, and they come up to do a girls' weekend wine tasting. But people have to know about that in order to, offset those expenses that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Oh, sorry, Tosca, I'm sorry.
No, not a problem at all. There are two clear ways to address debt. That's to increase revenue and to cut spending. And neither of these options, while the cutting spending isn't popular, we do have tough decisions facing the council about what infrastructure, services, salary increases, et cetera, are absolutely necessary versus discretionary. And also note, I didn't say increase taxes, I said increase revenue. I would like to take a good look at ways to optimize the resources that we already have. For example, this room. I used to serve as the president of the Verde Valley Bar Association, which is an informal group of attorneys in the Verde Valley area, and yes, we include Sedona. We had attorneys from Sedona. And I used, I would ask different restaurants where we can hold lunch meetings, and I also approached the rec center, and Joyce was very helpful at working with me to allow us to use the space. There is a fee, but I also noticed there were vacancies, and I would like to urge council moving forward to look at ways to further optimize our resources that we do have. That's just one small example, but if we keep working collaboratively and optimize our resources, along with the items that we already discussed, such as attracting new businesses, diverse businesses, growing and supporting the businesses we have, keeping our focus on Old Town, which is a great destination, but what about Midtown? We've got enough momentum to keep that growth going into Midtown. I want to have every storefront on the drive-through to Old Town to be open for business. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Next question. What will you do to reduce the rapid rise in personnel costs? For year 2017, $19 million in parentheses, and big debts. Did everybody understand that one?
I didn't catch
Okay, What will you do to reduce the rapid rise in personnel costs? And for year 2017, that was $19 million. And also to reduce big debts, which we already touched on a little bit. But I think now we're on to Al, who's going to start first, please.
Well, I'm, again, concerned about the debt. We're all concerned about it. What can we do on the personnel side? It depends on the financial situation at the time a little bit, but we may have to enforce a hiring freeze at some point. We may have to take a look at management in different departments and talk to management and see where they feel we can cut certain areas or reduce certain areas to help that. It's a difficult situation, but if the economy again goes south, we're going to have some really difficult choices, and that could well be one of them. And let's hope that it doesn't happen, but I feel that that should be reduced in any way that it can be.
Thank you. Jackie.
Okay. I guess getting back to my budget discussion with all of you. So looking at the expense side of things a little bit, I am also, as everybody at this table, concerned about the debt. Have been hearing a lot about the debt. I've been attending the city council meetings and listening and reading the articles in the paper and all of that. So I know that we do, as Al said, have a lot of difficult decisions that the council is going to have to make going forward about budgeting, about how do we pay down this debt, and refinancing it is a great way to save some money right now, but we're still going to have to address the debt issue going forward. The personnel costs just kind of compound the debt issue, don't they? Considering that, going forward, we may not be able to afford this level of personnel costs, so we're going to have to take a real hard look at every department, I think, and the positions in the departments and the functions that they fill, and make sure that everything is absolutely necessary, and then make whatever tough decisions need to be made. I don't know what those would look like, since I also haven't seen the budget or fully know all of the personnel costs that we have. But we are going to definitely need to take a look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Deb.
I agree. I think we have to take a look at the personnel, who's doing what, and what they're being paid in comparison to what those same positions are being paid in similar towns. I do know that this was recently done by Payson, and Cottonwood was included in that salary, look. I think that that's important, but I also think that it's important that we have our city employees paid fairly. They're also spending money here. They're also living here, buying houses here. And I don't think just sweeping across saying, salary decreases or freezing salaries or no more merits, I don't necessarily think that's a good idea. If we have someone who's making proportionately more than they should be, or that similar towns of similar size are, then we should be taking a look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Tosca.
I think that is an excellent question, but I believe that the budget has to be looked at as a whole, and not just that the number I believe that was submitted was the 19 million for personnel. That is a percentage of our budget which exceeds 70 million, I believe, was our latest budget that was approved. I am the managing attorney of the law firm that I work at, and I take the approach that we try to recruit and retain the best possible people to work in our firm. I then try to do my best to give them the tools that they need to succeed in their jobs. I like to pay them a fair salary, but with that goes accountability. So if that employee is receiving an appropriate and fair salary, they are to be held accountable to performance standards. And I do believe in bringing that approach to the council, to city council and to the city's budget and personnel costs as well. Are we recruiting and retaining the best possible people in our positions at the city? And if so, are we giving them the tools and the training that they need to succeed? And are they adequately and fairly compensated? Finally, the last piece of that is there that accountability and transparency in their work performance evaluations?
Thank you. Ruben.
It's kind of been my observation that we're really not fat with personnel in this community. I can't look at a single position and say that maybe we should cut this out or that out. I don't see it. If anything, and I'm not advocating this right now, but we may need a few more hired hands to help us in the community. It's something that we have to face. If we hit dire straits, you have to take some dire action, and salary freezes would be it. I think the worst thing could happen, in the worst case scenario, we start laying people off, and of course I'm speculating here. That's what would happen. this is just, as I tell people, the cost of doing business, the cost of running this community. If we expect the fire department, the police, and all the other departments to do their job, they have to be adequately staffed and adequately trained to give us the services that we expect. So, once again, this is a very difficult question to answer at this time.
Thank you. Okay, we'll get on to the next question, and this time we're going to start with Jackie. And the question is, how do you propose improving the financial structure of the rec center?
Okay, well, first of all, I'd have to start by looking at the financial structure of the rec center. That is not something that I have looked at up to this point. So I don't have a full understanding of what that structure is. So I would start there. I would look at the structure and talk to people, ask a lot of questions, people that work at the rec center, people that visit the rec center, and then take all of that information, because one thing I'm really good at is listening at all sides of a situation before making a decision or taking an action. So that would be my approach. I would talk to everybody, I would look at the information, and then I would decide what my approach would be from there.
Thank you. Deb?
I agree. I am not privy to the rec center financials as well. Probably Ruben is the only one up here that has that information. I know, last night at the council meeting, they talked about how to make the rec center more profitable, or at least as profitable as was expected. I think we have to reach out to the other communities, get more people in here using the rec center. I think bringing in groups like we've brought in the last couple of weeks that can then use the rec center on day passes, or I think a great idea, renting this room and other rooms in the area. But we're kind of being asked questions that we don't have privy to the actual information on the budget, so it's a hard one to answer. Thank you.
Okay, and Tosca.
The rec center is a great example of how we could market a resource that we have in order to bring additional revenue into the city. For an example, I recently went on, well, not recently, a little bit ago, went on vacation in Coronado, and right in the lobby of my hotel was a card that advertised a daily pass for tourists. I also saw the same idea. I used that $5 pass. The same idea was also in the newspaper from one of our candidates for mayor, who said, why don't we market that if you're a visitor here to Cottonwood, you can come and use our facility for a small fee. And that is a great economic, or has the possibility of being a good economic driver. Just also making sure that we're marketing the rec center not just to visitors, but to our local communities, our citizens here, who may not know that it's not just a place to work out, it is a meeting place. It is somewhere that you can rent out the rooms. There's great audiovisual equipment if you need to use it for your private group or activity. So I think that just marketing it better and optimizing the resource that we have would help.
Great, thank you. And Ruben?
When back in the day when I was mayor and we started talking about this rec center, I believe it was always understood that we would have to supplement it from the city budget. And with that in mind, we still pursued it. I think it's an important part of our community. I think it helps to promote our community when people are looking to relocate here, when they see like the rec center, the library, and some of these structures, even the police department that was built a few years ago. So are we ever going to break even by the membership fees? I don't believe so. I really don't believe so, unless the fees go a lot higher than they are now. And I'd like to see them stay pretty affordable so that people can go and enjoy that. So, like I say, looking back from the past, we always felt we had to supplement it from the general fund, and yet it's a big asset to our community. we're obviously not going to close the doors and walk away from it. So.
Thank you. I think we've had everybody, right? Al, no, Al, that's right. Al, please finish up.
I started working here at the rec center when this first opened. Actually, I was in the maintenance department and worked part-time. As I said, I sat on the Parks and Recreation Commission for 3 years, and Richard Faust has done a wonderful job as director, and I was talking to Richard tonight before I came in here, and they were working at the goal to get to 60% of actual cost, and the city would be supplementing 40. Right now, they're at 62%, which is heading the right direction. They've had one price increase for members, and we wouldn't recommend another one because all you're going to do is discourage people from coming here and becoming members. What we want to do is keep it reasonable, competitive with other recreation centers, and attract more people as we can. The more people that move here, and all the real estate, I worked part-time for Mingus Mountain Real Estate 2 days a week, and we always have the rec center information available that we hand out to people. Many people have moved here because of the recreation center. It provides a wonderful thing for the community. And we have to look at that also. I don't feel either that it'll be 100% at any point. We'd like to think that it would be, but I would like to see it done without increasing any fees. That's very important, but it does a wonderful thing for our community. You'll see the growth here since I first worked here has been phenomenal as far as the people coming in and working out. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we've got a question now about Highway 260. How can we improve safety on Highway 260? Sorry.
No, we went.
Did you go?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
Jackie went first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were giving me a funny look. So
No.
Yeah. No, it's okay. Yeah, we're going to start with Jackie now, right?
No, me.
No, we're going
I
to start
finally
with
get to go
Deb. Nice.
first. Come on, don't take that from me.
Okay, thank you. We're going to start with Deb. Okay, well, how can we improve safety on Highway 260, especially at the intersections of Western and Del Rio?
You know, I drive 260 often. And I think, you know, we have people that drive too fast, especially near Western. I think people think it's 55 there, and it's not quite 55 yet. I think, you know, we need to slow down. Everybody needs to slow down. It's okay if you're late for work. It's okay if you're late for that hair appointment in Camp Verde or that, you know, restaurant appointment in Sedona, although you wouldn't be taking 260 if you were going to Sedona. You know, so I think people need to slow down. We need to really enforce that. I'm against the roundabouts. I'll just say that right now. I don't think they're a good idea. I don't think the people in this community really know how to use them. People stop and they get scared, and they're meant to keep traffic moving, but I don't think people really get it. And I think putting roundabouts in 260 is a bad idea, and it's going to be more of a public safety issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Tosca.
I think that also begs the question with what can we afford to do? I mean, we could sit here and run the gamut of different ways that might help improve safety at those intersections and all along the 260. But as we all know, funding is an issue. I think that a key to reducing accidents, at least at night, would be visibility. I've heard a lot of concerns at people that either live in the Verde villages or make that commute often through the area, that visibility is a challenge and is a key factor that contributes to accidents and the danger of those intersections. That being said, I don't know the cost at what cost it would come to increase and improve the lighting in those areas. So it's one thing to say this is a good suggestion for an improvement, but can we afford it? So that is a concern that I have moving forward, and if elected, I would urge the council to take a good look at the security, especially starting with the 260 at those Verde Villages intersections and then moving backwards. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I guess Ruben.
Yeah, just a little something to share with you. A few years back, coming back from Phoenix, and it was rather late in my defense, and I was tired. I'm coming down the road, and you see flashing lights in front, and the officers got somebody pulled over. And I just went by because I looked at my speedometer, and it said 55. And all of a sudden, I saw that police car leave that scene and pull up behind me, and I was a little surprised. And so I pulled in at the old gas station out there on 260. And to be honest with you, he had me going 65, and for some reason, when I looked at the speedometer, I saw 55. So I guess it goes to show how tired I was. But the funny thing is that he looked at me, and that was mayor at the time. Well, this was probably more than a few years ago. Mayor at the time, and he says, "Don't I know you?" I said, "No, I don't think so." And I got my ticket and went home. But anyway, so much for that. You know, the safety at Del Rio and Western, I'm not an engineer. I think we'd have to go in there and hire our engineers to look at those intersections and see what possibly could be done. You know, it's a good project to turn over to the professionals, and whether it involves lighting or widening or whatever, I think we could do that and get better results. I'd hate to speculate what we would have to do not having those qualifications. So,
Thank you. Al?
Well, possibly, I would guess, and I don't have any records, but most of the accidents probably occur from people coming up 260 into Cottonwood, speeding above the speed limit. I don't know if possibly a flashing light, a signal ahead would help. Again, as Ruben mentioned, I think it'd be important to turn it over to engineers that could better do a design study and see what might work better for the community. As far as the rest of the 260, if the state decides it'd be nice to have 4 lanes, 2 lanes each direction all the way down. I think from a safety standpoint, that's really critical, but that's not my decision. That's up to them. But I think if we put our heads together and we get assistance from professionals, possibly we can help reduce the situation. Thank you.
Yes, Deb.
Okay, well, I'll just start by saying that we certainly want people to be safe on our roads, and we want them to feel safe while they're traveling, because it only takes one person and one vehicle to cause an accident. That's not necessarily everybody's fault when there's an accident. So I think that we start by encouraging the public to be careful. If you know there's an intersection that's particularly dangerous and you travel it all the time, then you should be on high alert when you're traveling in those areas and really watch for other cars that aren't paying attention and other drivers that may not be paying close attention. In going door to door and talking to people lately, one of the things that's come up a couple of times is the speed that people seem to be traveling in their vehicles. I had one man talk to me about his concern for the safety of his family while he was driving them down Main Street in his truck, and some other vehicle was not following the speed limit, not paying attention to the stop signs and all of that kind of thing, and almost ran right into them. And he has 2 small children, so he would like to see the speed limits enforced and the traffic laws enforced better by our police department. And so that may be another avenue to go, is to ensure that our police department are enforcing those laws as well.
Thank you. Tosca, did you? Wait a minute. We've had everybody? Yes, I thought so. Okay, we've got a new question out. Sorry. Too many questions. No, there's good questions here. This is a long one, so listen up. There have been over 35 men arrested for for attempting to purchase children for sex in the county, but recently trying to lure two 12-year-old children right here at the rec center. What ideas do you have to eliminate this in our community? So that's an interesting question. So we're starting with, wait a minute, where are we now? So it'll be, yes, Deb. No, not Deb. Wait a minute, I'm getting lost here.
We'll let the lawyer take this one first.
There's the lawyer, okay.
I'm more than happy.
That's a good one to start with, okay.
Well, the lawyer has a very non-lawyer answer to how we try to fight this in our community, and that is, number one, we have to raise awareness. The fact that we're talking about this tonight, the fact that we have pictures of perpetrators in the newspaper, in the Verde Independent, the fact that we have the write-ups, that raises awareness. This is key to our community because you have parents who then educate their children. It's a topic that can be discussed. It's not something that's taboo, or if you're a parent, how do you bring that up with your son or your daughter? And I think that raising awareness is the number one thing that this community can do to fight this. The second thing behind that, we also have to have an active law enforcement team that is aware and is actively fighting, investigating, and then the other piece of that is the lawyer piece. We need to make sure we are prosecuting these crimes.
Ruben.
Yes, well, awareness is probably the biggest thing that we should have, keeping our eyes and ears open. A few years back, and I don't know how popular they are now, we had the Neighborhood Watch. We all had the signs that said Neighborhood Watch. And I found that to be a very good tool for a number of reasons. Well, very frankly, because you got your neighbor keeping an eye out in your place, and look in your direction. And I think we have to do more of that. I think our neighborhoods have to be a little more united, shall we say. I know there's people down the street from me that probably have been there, 5 years or more, and I don't know who they are. And that's part of the problem, not knowing who our neighbors are. Looking into a neighborhood watch, obviously there is a component of law enforcement and lawyers, and then of course I think the parents have a lot to do with informing their kids that it's not a beautiful world out there sometimes, and to be careful and watch out, and to have the kind of relationship with them where they're willing to come back and tell you something. Sometimes the kids aren't. They're afraid for whatever reason. So it falls on all of us, parents, community, law enforcement, even the lawyers, prosecute these things. Okay.
Yes.
Well, fortunately, this young lady came forward. There were some other incidents I found out about with this same man that was in here, and it was brought to the attention of some of the managers here, and they asked around to the different people this person had been talking to if they had said anything that's out of line, and they said no, not so far. Then it changed. Unfortunately, the young lady that came forward is to be commended because she was educated. It's a big part of the whole process. We have to educate our kids. I don't think that, unfortunately, the prosecution is strong enough because they end up coming back into the community, and we are notified where they live, and I don't know how to overcome that. What I'd like to do is sit down with the police department, see what they're currently doing and what their standards are as far as that, and then see if we can't figure out a way to help the situation. I'd rather see them out of the community, but unfortunately they'll go somewhere else and do the same thing. So the prosecution has to be strong enough that these people are put in jail or whatever for a long period of time, if that's what it takes, and maybe a rehabilitation plan. Not all of them will take advantage of that, but they all need help, that's for sure. So it's very discouraging. We're not the only community, unfortunately. I think every community is faced with this. my personal feelings, I wouldn't even bring it up, what I would consider doing. But, you know, it's a serious issue and it needs to be addressed. And I would plan to go to the police department first and talk to them and see what they're doing. Thank you.
Yes. Jackie.
Child abduction of any kind is very disturbing to me, but it's not necessarily a new issue in our world. I remember growing up, my mother told us never to take candy from strangers and don't get into somebody's car unless you know them. She didn't tell us why. She just told us not to do it. So the one time I took a ride to school from a stranger, I thought she was going to kill me. So I'm very lucky to be here, I think. But I still didn't know why. And then a little while later, there was the abduction and murder of Adam Walsh from Florida. I'm sure many of you remember that story. And John Walsh was still very active in trying to bring people to justice. But that story scared me. And that was a few years before I had my daughter. So when my daughter was born, I decided that she was going to know more, and I was going to do whatever I could to keep her safe. So I had all those talks with her about the inappropriate touching, you know, all of that stuff you talk to with the small children. And by then they had it in the schools too. But I had taught my daughter that if somebody tried to pick her up from a grocery store or something and leave with her and they didn't, and it wasn't a relative, that she should scream, help me, this is not my mother, right? So then her grandmother took her to the store one day, and my daughter was trying to throw a temper tantrum to get a piece of candy. So my mother picked her up to take her out of the store, and she screamed, help me, this is not my grandmother. And you want to know what happened? Nobody did anything. Nobody tried to stop my mother. Nobody called the police. Everybody let her leave with her. And maybe they knew who my mother was, and maybe they didn't, because we'd lived there for many, many years. But what scared me the most there was nobody did anything. So I think we need to educate the public. We need to empower any individual anywhere. If you see anything involving a child that doesn't look right or doesn't feel right, to please step in. And if it means calling the police, don't be afraid to call the police. I know a lot of people don't like to do that, but sometimes it's for the best to call the police. That's what they're there for. That's what the city is. That's what we're paying them for, is to protect our children.
Thank you. Yes,
You know,
Deb.
I agree with the awareness and the education. I think the question was specific to the rec center here, and I don't know exactly what the protocol is. I don't have children, but I do know that ideas about checking kids in and checking kids out. You check your child in and you show an ID, and only you can get your child out. Lots of school districts have this, where you have to be on the list in order to pick up a child. And so I feel like the question was specific to the rec center. I don't know if we've had issues here at the rec center where a child has been abducted, but I do think awareness, education, of course getting the police and the prosecution involved, but really watching out for each other when we're here at the rec center, because people are vulnerable. Kids are out in that pool playing, and the parents might be inside exercising. So everybody watching out for everybody.
Thank you. Well, we have time for one more question. So I chose this one, but we've done a lot about economics and the problems with finances. So I'm going to change it a little bit to something different, which is our youth. So let's look to the future. So the question is, do you feel the City Council has an obligation to the youth of the community, and explain how? And I think we start with Tosca. Is it Tosca again? Is it? Wait a minute, where are we now?
I think we're at Al.
Where are we? Oh, wait a minute. Reuben.
So the question is the city's obligation to the youth of the community?
Yes. Is there an obligation, and what is that obligation? How?
Well, I believe there is an obligation. I feel that we should have obviously activities for them to do, and we do. Starting with the rec center, starting with the ball programs. I'm sure we have basketball that goes on, and the city has a big hand in these things. One of the most important things we can do is work with the youth of our community. I worked 7 years as a girls softball coach, okay? And when I started working with it, I was told at the time, the Parks and Rec director, who's long gone, okay, he told me that they did not have a field in Cottonwood for these kids to practice on or play on. But the Women's League had the field. He flat told me that, and that I should go to Clarkdale and ask for that field. And I asked him if he was the Parks and Rec director of Clarkdale to freely give a field. And he told me no. This is the first time I got involved with a council member, okay? This gentleman used to come to my salon and get his hair cut, and his name was Dick Wills. And I told him about this. I said, it's a crying shame that we can't have a field for these kids to play on. You know, and we're being told that they should go to Clarkdale. You know, why don't the women go to Clarkdale? They got transportation, these kids don't. So I got involved with that for 7 years. It's a great experience. We ended up taking a team to the state championships. They did well in their division. Then we ended up going to Reno. First time these kids had an experience of flying, and some even in being in a motel with a swimming pool, so it was great. So yes, there is an obligation for all of us, not only the city, to get involved with the youth of our community. For years in my garage, I set up a very nice equipped gym, okay? I had a lot of young men from the junior high and the high schools used to come down and work out with me, one of which called me today, and he's 50 years old today. So it's very important to get involved with them.
Thank you. Al.
We absolutely have an obligation. Fortunately, I don't know if all of you are familiar with all the rec center does provide, but they are involved in softball, hardball games. My two grandsons play, and they have a lot of other activities for children. And it's been said before, but the children are our future, so it's really, really important that they are raised in that atmosphere, because sports, my granddaughter and my two grandsons have been involved in sports, and it's made a world of difference in their attitudes. And the Recreation Center here provides so many positive things for kids to try to teach them right and for them to do the best they can in life. And we absolutely have an obligation to our children. And I feel that personally, and I would feel that as a council member if I'm elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Jackie.
I agree that the city council does have an obligation to the youth. I think that this city has a wonderful variety of activities already for the kids. But one of the things I've always believed is that the way to keep children out of trouble is to keep them engaged and involved in activities that are meaningful and fun. And we're doing a great job of that. And so as a city council member, I would be very committed to advocating that we continue to offer that variety of activities that we do, and maybe even to implement some new ones, if whatever that may be. But certainly we want to keep the children engaged and busy and safe.
Thank you. Deb?
Sure. Youth activities are very important to this community, and I think the city council should be involved. I think after-school activities are very important. The camp that we had at the Old Boys and Girls Club during the summer, this last few weeks, was very important. I think the teen center across the street from the middle school is a great resource. I think things like the skate park that the city invested in, and we need to continue to build that. We need things, like Jackie said, we need things for the kids to do. If they're busy, they're playing sports, or they're skateboarding in the skate park, they're keeping busy and they're staying out of trouble. So I think it's very important. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
The youth are our future, and I believe that the city owes our children the opportunity to have the best education possible. And as that's not just at the middle school level, the high school level, it's also supporting education at the college level and trying to provide for opportunities from K through beyond for our students. I think that education is key when we discuss the children of our community. We need to have strong support for our teachers, for our schools, and providing educational tools and resources. We've heard about the Parks and Recs programs. I also support those programs, and I don't want to minimize the after-school opportunities that we have to provide for our students. I'm a very strong supporter of utilizing partnerships with nonprofit and private organizations to provide after-school opportunities for our students. Little League is huge in Cottonwood. What would we be without Little League? I was a little disappointed. I did sign up and play softball as part of the Parks and Rec Adult Women's League, and I think we had only four teams or 5 teams, which meant that I had some extra time to go and watch my friends' kids play Little League, and it is popular, it's vibrant, and I'd like to encourage those programs that we have. Swimming is also great. The Cottonwood Clippers are doing a great job fundraising and very active right now. So I think that when we talk about kids, we've got to talk about every facet of this community. That includes law enforcement. If we have a strong law enforcement presence here in the community that can help avoid risks to our students that we just discussed, such as the child abductions and the other inappropriate crimes toward children that we see. School resource officers can have a tremendous impact on their students. Safe Night is a very popular local community event which raises awareness of law enforcement and issues facing them and our students. So I think we have to approach our students with a
Thank you. Ruben? Ruben, you started, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. That
I'll
was
go again if you want me to.
No, it's okay. I was making sure that everybody got their say. I think now we've finished with our questions, and so we're going to get on to just our closing statements. So what we're going to do, we'll have each one of you giving a 2-minute closing statement, and we're going to do it in the reverse order that we did it to begin with. So we'll start off with Deb for your closing statement.
Sure. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the League of Women's Voters and the City Council and the chambers and the rec center. This is a wonderful opportunity. I love this town. I love Cottonwood. I love the people that are here. I love what we're doing. And I look forward to serving on the City Council, meeting with all of you, talking to all of you, listening to all of you. I have a strong personality. I speak my mind, and I'm not afraid to go against the flow. I'm not afraid to ask questions at City Council meetings. I think we need people asking questions, challenging things, not necessarily always voting yes. I think we need to be looking at what's best for our community and what do our constituents really want and what are they asking us to do. So I will be available. I'll be responsive to your questions. I want to meet with you and really represent the people in this community. I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, I want to thank you all for coming tonight. I think this is a great turnout with how many seats are filled. So that's awesome. And you all asked a bunch of great questions, so thank you for that. This is a wonderful city that we have here. It's vibrant, it's alive, people love coming here, and I am very committed to seeing that continues. This is also a very wonderful country we live in. I love our country. And the concept of government of the people, for the people, and by the people is something that I really firmly believe in. So to that end, again, I want to remind you that once I'm elected, I will work very hard to engage you, the public, in the process and to get your opinions in various ways so that we know what your ideas are and what you would like to see happen. To increase the transparency of the City Council to the public in a variety of ways, to improve your quality of life and the quality of life of everybody that comes into our city, to really be the voice, your voice at the City Council. But I also would like to hope that we can encourage you all to come out to the City Council meetings and speak for yourselves as well. We need to get many, many more people to come out and talk to the City Council so that they can hear a variety of ideas on all the issues. Like I said earlier, I'm one of those people that's very good at listening to all sides of something before making a final decision on anything. But if only one side comes to a City Council meeting to speak their part of things, then it's hard to listen to the other side right at that moment. So we have to find ways to engage everybody in these conversations. And of course, then my last real priority is to work very hard to create that sustainable economy that will keep us moving forward, regardless of what happens with the overall economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Al.
Thank you. Well, I thank everyone too. It's been a great opportunity for all of us to be able to kind of introduce ourselves and tell you a little bit about how we feel about the issues. I currently, as I mentioned, I only work 2 days a week out of choice in real estate. I'm going to not do that after the first of the year. I will commit to spending whatever time I need to the position to do the best job I can. I really feel strongly about the citizens of Cottonwood. This is such a great community. I enjoyed living here. I know everyone enjoys living here. Everyone's concerned about issues. I'm concerned about issues as well. I want to return certain things to the community. A lot of the different organizations that need money, I'd be in a position to help that out too. And that's got nothing to do with what I'm, doing here tonight and running for city council. So I thank everybody again, and I'll do the best job I can for the residents and for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Ruben.
Quite honestly, I think we have a great group of people here that are willing to serve, and any one of them would be great, without a question. I would like to continue serving. I've been serving, like I said, for 16 years. I'd like to continue that. It's a position, being at this level of government to me is probably the best situation because you're as close as you're ever going to get to your constituents. As you move up to other positions, I think you start to move away a little bit. So this is the atmosphere, the position that I like to be in. Of course, the choice is up to all the voters, and at the end of the day, when the dust settles and the votes are counted, I'll respect whatever this community has to say. Let me leave you with one little thing that I always say. I was born and raised in Flagstaff, way too long ago to mention, and I always say that Flagstaff is my hometown of birth, but Cottonwood is my hometown of choice. And this is where I've been committed for the last almost 40 years. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And finally, Tosca.
If elected, I will encourage dialogue and vigorously advocate and further the interests of our community, many of the key issues we've heard about tonight. So with that being said, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for coming tonight. Thank you for your questions. I'd like to thank the Cottonwood Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring this event. And lastly, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting not just tonight, but also the various candidate forums throughout the Verde Valley. The League is an organization that I have tremendous respect for as they work to encourage citizen participation in government. I echo the League statement that democracy is not a spectator sport. And I'd like to, on that note, encourage each and every one of you to vote in the primary election that's coming up on August 30th. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for coming this evening. It's been a remarkable evening.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank you. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of the Greater Verde Valley, again, thank you. Thank you to all the candidates. It's been amazing. I've learned a lot, I'll tell you that much, and I'm sure everybody here has. And thank you to our wonderful audience. You've been wonderful for your attention, your participation. I hope you like the format, and if you have any suggestions on how we could make it better, we'd love to hear from you. So again, thank you so much. Thank you.